Hey there, handy friends. I want to show you 4 ways to harvest worm castings. So make sure you stick with me. The first method I want to show you is screening. Now this is a perfect example of a concoction that was made for screening. However, we do not use this for our worms. Maybe in the future when I get more worms, I might be inclined to use this for them. But for right now, it's easy for me to harvest my worms in other ways, and I don't really like my worms being on this metal grate, but I'm going to show you this. This is our compost sifter, and I did a video on this as well. This is kind of like a simple video to show you. I got this idea on Pinterest. And so what this does is the frame basically sits on our wheelbarrow, and then the car sits on top, and it has wheels. So there's 6 wheels, 3 on each side, and you can fill this with anything you want. In this case, it would be the worms and the worm castings, and you would fill it with the worms and worm castings, and then you would rock it back and forth really quick, and basically the worms would stay on top of the screen, and your castings would end up really nice and fluffy under here in the wheelbarrow. So that's one option that we do have to harvest our worm castings, but I choose not to do it that way, and I'm going to show you the way that I like to do it and several other ways that are really popular as well, so make sure you stick with me. And if you want to see how this is made, you can check out my other YouTube video that kind of clues you in on what we use this for and how we use it. We're here at my worm bin. I'm going to open it up. The next method would be the light method, and worms are photophobic, which means they don't like light. So what you would do with this method is you would remove your first layer of bedding. So you're always going to have that top layer of bedding, which you can see here. And then you can either put a really bright light over top of this or do it in the sunlight. And after you remove this layer, your top layer, which helps your worm farm not to stink up your house or wherever you've got it, remove your top layer and shine the light in there really bright. A little more light than what I'm giving it now, but the worms are gonna go down because they don't like the light. And then after around 2 hours, you're gonna kind of cultivate the soil like this and come back in about an hour later, and the worms that are on top, such as that guy, there he is. See, he's upset. He doesn't like the light. So he's gonna go ahead and go down to the bottom further, and then I can remove a layer. So you're gonna remove about 1 inch at a time, and then you're gonna cultivate again, and then wait about 2 hours, an hour or two, and come back and again take out about another inch of soil and do that until you get the bottom, and at the bottom will be plenty full of worms. So that is the light method, and that's another method that you can use to harvest your worm castings successfully with this tool. Another really popular method is, again, remove the top layer off, and then we're going to use the bait method. And so what that is you can pour some food on top after starving them for a while. You kind of pour the food on top, and then they're really hungry. Obviously you put your top on and you wait for a few days, and then you come back and revisit in a few days. They're really hungry and they've all kind of surfaced to the top, and then you can kind of harvest them from the top on the food. Or you can use a sack similar to this lemon sack, and you can fill this with some really good snacks like some melons, obviously a little bit more food than what I've got, and the worms will crawl into this bag, and then you can come back in a few weeks and harvest them out of this bag. However, you always want to keep your food covered up or it will stink. And while we're here, let's see. These are worm sacs. So these are baby worms. So hopefully, let's see, you can see those right there. See that? Baby worms, little baby sacs. So obviously, when you're harvesting, you want to keep your eye out for these because these are going to equal little baby worms, which help grow your farm. So the more you keep in your bin of these eggs, the better, and the more worms you're going to have. Let's move on to the next and final 4 of my most popular ways to harvest worm castings. Okay, lastly is very tedious work, and a lot of people probably don't want to do it and don't do it. After a really long winter, I really like to do this and really appreciate this. Near like February, I'm just really craving to get my hands in some soil, and this really just makes me remember that it's not far away for spring and just to hang on. And number 4 is going to be manual sorting. And manual sorting is literally coming in here like this and going through what you have and pulling out the worms and the eggs one by one. So it can be very tedious to go through and find all these little eggs. There's another egg and there's worms, and obviously most of them are going to be at the bottom, but in order to harvest these beautiful castings, that's what needs to be done. Lots of work. So it might not be very easy all the time, but it pays off in the end to have a worm farm. So harvesting worm castings is pretty easy, and given that there's many different ways to do it, you should definitely get some worms. I happen to have red wigglers, and I really love them. They've been great. I've had them for about a year now, and I'm going to be putting out some more videos on how to take care of them. It's a cheap investment, and I plan on doing a couple videos on how to make the bins and just showing you all about them. There's no reason why you shouldn't do it yourself, so give it a try. And don't forget to check out my other worm videos. And if you like what you see, please give me that thumbs up. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel for more great videos pertaining to homesteading, foraging, anything to do with nature and worms. And stay handy, friends.